Vet Triage. This will be posted on January 28th, I believe, maybe 29th. Anyway, we are on the very last article in the JAVMA. This is March 15, 2017 edition, and we are ending with a sad one, survey of attitudes towards and experiences with animal abuse encounters in a convenient sample of United States veterinarians. So I have a picture there of a sad puppy because we're talking about animal abuse. This comes out of the vet school in Colorado State University, the vet school in North Carolina State University, and the Veterinary Information Network, or VIN. The objective is to survey practicing vets regarding their perceptions of and experiences with cases of animal abuse. This is a survey. It lasted 1 month long in 2015. Results found that 1,209 completed surveys were received, which is a 3.5% response rate. 1,155 surveys were submitted, which is 95.5%, by currently practicing veterinarians. 1,005 practicing veterinarians, which is 87%, have encountered at least one case of animal abuse. 55.8% of these vets had reported at least one case. The most common reasons for reporting were to protect the animal, ethical beliefs, and protect other animals in the household. The most common reasons for not reporting abuse were uncertainty if the animal was abused, a belief that client education would be better, and the belief that the injury or illness was accidental versus intentional. Most respondents were unaware of current state laws. The results suggest that there's a need for state and national veterinary and human law enforcement organizations to increase communication and education for veterinarians to recognize and report animal abuse. All right, introduction. Animal abuse can be defined as socially unacceptable behavior that intentionally causes unnecessary pain, suffering, distress, or death. A more inclusive definition removes the caveat of intentional, includes neglect, and defines abuse as any act that by intention or neglect causes an animal unnecessary pain or suffering. It has been proposed that intentional animal abuse can be viewed as an alternative form of interpersonal violence. In the past, animal cruelty cases fell into miscellaneous, but now animal cruelty is a Group A offense, a crime against society with 4 categories: simple or gross neglect, intentional abuse and torture, organized abuse like dog fighting or cockfighting, and animal sexual abuse. The FBI says intentionally, knowingly, or recklessly taking an action that mistreats or kills an animal without just cause, such as torturing, tormenting, mutilation, maiming, poisoning, abandoning. Included are instances of duty to provide care, shelter, food, water, care of sick or injured, transportation, or confining an animal in a manner likely to cause injury or death, causing an animal to fight with another, inflicting excessive or repeated unnecessary pain or suffering, uses objects to beat or injure animals. This definition does not include proper maintenance of animals for show or sport, use of animals for food, lawful hunting, fishing, or trapping. Most vets have encountered at least one abuse case. A study found 87% of vets from Indiana have treated abuse cases. Another study showed that United States veterinarians encounter a mean of 5.6 cases of animal abuse per 1,000 patients. Another study found that 48.3% of 1,000 British veterinarians acknowledged having encountered at least one case of abuse. Many reported animal abuse cases are presumed to be consistent of neglect, which is defined as failure to provide adequate food, water, shelter, and sanitary environment or emergency veterinary care for injured or suffering animal, either intentionally or unintentionally. And this is sometimes referred to as simple neglect when it's unintentional. Abandonment and hoarding are other examples of neglect. Cases of intentional cruelty, however, are often of greater concern because there's an established connection between animal cruelty and other forms of violence like domestic violence, child abuse, elder abuse. But there's no causal relationship that has been established between violence towards animals and future violence towards people. Strong evidence suggests that both types of violence are related. Even witnessing animal abuse can increase the likelihood of somebody later committing violent offenses against animals, people, or both. All states now have felony laws. Remember, this is 2017, so things may have changed since then. But all states now have felony laws for severe cruelty to animals and laws that prohibit neglect. The number of colleges with animal law courses are increasing. 161 law schools in the U.S. and Canada offer courses. The American Bar Association now have animal law committees. Several indicators used in the detection of child abuse in children are modified for animals. Clients who provide an inconsistent history, especially when the injuries are too severe to explain the history. Client may provide a discrepant history, telling different stories, different people, or stories that don't match other family members. Other signs include the actual type of injury, like sustained injury, especially repetitive injury, injuries, or rib fractures. An animal with signs of fearing a family member, excessive aggression or submission, or relief when separated from the owner may be suspected of having been abused. Lastly, a history of unexplained injuries or deaths of other animals in the household should be considered a warning sign. Several obstacles, both ethical and legal, must be overcome. Obstacles include the perception that those seeking veterinary care for their animals would not have been abusers. Lack of training in dealing with abuse, fears of litigation, adverse financial consequences, confidentiality breaches, constraints, lack of appropriate further action by authorities after abuse is reported. These are all the fears that veterinarians have. Many veterinarians have concerns regarding possible civil and criminal liability should they make a false report or a good faith report and be found that it was unfounded, or should they fail to make a report as prescribed by law. Afraid to be wrong, some veterinarians do not feel adequately trained. Another report found that 44% of veterinarians believe they understood legal rights and responsibilities. 8% believe that their veterinary education provided adequate training. It's not surprising, considering vet students receive an average of 76 minutes of training on animal abuse, identification, and intervention, only 8 minutes on the topic of human abuse. Regarding materials and methods for the study, at the time of the survey, the Veterinary Information Network members represented about 33% of the profession, with 102,583 veterinarians in VIN. Results. The respondents originated from all 50 states in the U.S. A total of 1,209 respondents completed the survey, which is a 3.5% response rate, of which 1,155, or 95.5%, indicate they are currently in veterinary practice. 70% were female, 84% small animal. The year of graduating vet school most commonly was 44% from 2000 to 2014. Less than half of the respondents, 42.3%, practice vet medicine with a state that has laws mandating the reporting of animal abuse, and 57.7% practice in states that have no such law. A mandated reporting law exists in the state of practice in only 34.7% of respondents, and that's the number of vets that correctly believe that such a law exists, and only 28.7% believe that such a law does not exist. A large proportion of respondents, 87%, practice in states with a civil immunity law to protect those who report abuse in good faith. In response, whether they believe a law exists in their practice, in their state of practice, 19.7% believe that such a law existed. Only 15% correctly believe that a law does not exist. So now, encounters with and reporting of animal abuse. Encountering one or more cases of animal abuse, either suspected or confirmed, while in practice was 87% of veterinarians. 13% reported they had not. Experiences with specific situations, with high proportions having encountered animal abuse in over one fracture at different ages, 74.4%, or with unexplained injuries, 74.3%. When asked if their clinic had a policy regarding abuse, 62.5% said no, 22% said yes, 15% unsure. When asked whom they report to for abuse, 40% said the municipal or county animal control unit, 30% said direct supervisor or hospital director. Respondents who indicated they had encountered at least one, if not more, cases of abuse were asked whether they had reported these abuses, which 55.8% said they had reported at least one. The other 44.2% did not report it. The probability of a respondent having reported a suspected case of animal abuse when they believed an immunity law existed in their state, which is 70%, was significantly greater than the probability that they did not believe, which is 58%, or were unsure, 50% that such a law existed. So meaning that if the veterinarians know that they can have immunity if they report somebody for abuse and they're wrong about it, they're more likely to report abuse if they know they have legal protection if they're wrong. Reasons provided for choosing to report abuse include protection of the animal at 77.9%, or other animals at 60%, or other people at 38%. Others have ethical beliefs for it, 72%, professional codes of conduct, 52%, legal mandates, 17%, corporate policy, 10%, other reasons, 17%. Females are more likely than males to report abuse, to protect other people in the household, or to uphold professional codes of conduct. Reasons chosen by respondents with at least one animal abuse encounter for not reporting that abuse include being unsure it was abuse, 36.8%, thinking education was better than reporting it, and 17.8%, thinking it was accidental or unintentional, 10%, or being unsure of the reporting process, and 9%. No significant associations were identified between gender, year of graduation, perception of laws, and the more common reasons for choosing not to report. The only exception was not being sure it was abuse, in which situation respondents who were unsure whether an immunity law existed in their state were significantly more likely to select the reason than were respondents who did or did not believe a law existed. Okay, finally, regarding additional questions. When asked their views on mandatory reporting laws while in practice, most strongly support it at 24% or just support it at 42%. When asked whether they support reports of suspected animal cruelty, abuse, neglect, hoarding, and to have immunity from it, 41% strong support, 40% support. When they are asked to submit forensic evidence for law enforcement, 28% said they had been asked to do so. When asked when they submitted how submit the evidence, how prepared they felt, 42% were minimally prepared, 24% not prepared. When respondents were asked whether they were aware of any online resources, 65% replied no. When asked how interested they were in learning more about identifying abuse, 31% said very, and 41% said moderate. 82% indicated there was a link between animal abuse and child abuse. When asked about potential link between animal abuse and domestic violence, 80% thought they were certain that there was a link. Okay, discussion. 15 states, as of 2017, have some type of mandated reporting laws, although most states with a mandatory animal abuse reporting law also have an immunity law to protect those who report in good faith. There are exceptions. Some states mandate reporting but have no immunity. Other states have immunity but do not mandate it. 74% of respondents were unsure that their state had an immunity law. When vets were asked whether they had encountered any cases of suspected or confirmed abuse during their career, 87% said yes. When asked about specific potential indicators of abuse, over 50% of respondents said they had encountered potential indicators. Encounters with animals that had unexplained injuries or more than one fracture at different ages were 3/4 of respondents. Animals with unexplained rib fractures, old rib fractures, 69%. Animals with a history of unexplained injury or death of another animal at home, 59%. In another study, those who reported, in that study, they reported 87% of veterinarians have encountered animal abuse. 55% of respondents who had at least one case of suspected or confirmed abuse had reported at least one of these cases. Given that many reasons exist for people abusing animals, there are likely times when client education might be better than reporting them. It has been suggested that most cases of maltreatment come from ignorance or accidents rather than intention or pathologic behavior, and early intervention may prevent further mistreatment. Many other reasons often cited for failing to report animal abuse include fear, cost, time, repercussions, but they were less reported in this study. One of the most common reasons for not reporting animal abuse were analyzed. The only significant association was that veterinarians who believed their state had immunity laws were more likely to indicate they were unsure if abuse was, unsure it was abuse than were those who did not believe or were not sure if they had immunity laws. Physicians who have been advised to consult with others when unsure about abuse, so that any decision to report originated from a group rather than individual, thereby avoiding possible legal action and criticism. The inclusion of physicians as part of a mandated reporting system has not been shown to have any adverse economic impact on physicians. The policy for reporting suspected cases has been established at their clinic. In the present study, 62% report their clinic had no policies, 15% were unsure. Other studies have shown that physicians are less likely to report child abuse if they lack confidence in the system or projected outcome. One way to help ensure positive outcomes with local veterinarians, shelters. One way to ensure positive outcomes is to create collaboration by having relationships with local vets, shelters, forensics veterinarians. 65% of veterinarians in the present study indicated they were unaware of online resources. Another study found 76% felt they were inadequately trained. 84% the need to include training in how to recognize animal abuse in the veterinary curricula. Another study found that 86% of veterinarians agreed that the statement that clients who abuse their animals are more likely to abuse their children, and 77% agreed that clients who abuse animals are more likely to abuse spouses. Results of a limited number of studies suggest that animal abuse may be linked to child physical abuse, sexual abuse, neglect, intimate partner violence, elder abuse, other interpersonal violent crimes. Recognition is growing of the role that animal abuse plays in domestic violence. And again, this is of 2017, so things have probably progressed since then. As of 2014, 29 states have enacted legislation that includes provisions for pets in domestic violence protection orders. When asked how interested they were in learning more about animal abuse, 72% said they were moderately interested. So, I think that with the advent of social media, for all the good and bad about it, one of the good things about it is reporting animal abuse. I mean, the second somebody shows a video of an animal being abused or being dropped off at a building somewhere or whatever, the internet goes wild and they capture those people. They're very good at it. So there's cameras everywhere now, and so social media does a very good job at identifying these people that are mistreating animals. So that's at least one good thing about social media, about the internet, and that's why I'm assuming that since 2017 the laws have been more strict regarding animal abuse, because you can have more documentation now of somebody on video mistreating an animal. So kudos to those folks online who are able to track down these people and bring justice to them and to the animals. All right, guys, we'll see you again tomorrow for another one. Thank you.